everyone, welcome to another episode of Off the Cuff. My name is Angie Ramirez-Palma and I will be your guest host today. Shout out to Christian for allowing me to be on this platform and share this amazing conversation with you all today. Today we have a special guest. She's an actress, singer, model, and life coach, and we're super honored to have her here. So without further ado, please welcome Nazanin Mandi. Nazanin!
Hi.
I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
Honestly, it means so much to us. The day that Christian and I met you at the Samsung event almost a year ago. Was
No, I think it was like a year and a half ago.
a year? That's crazy.
Well, it was October 2023, I think. No, or November 2020. It was like
Maybe.
the end of 2023.
Yeah. And
It's been a minute.
it's been a minute.
I
But
know.
honestly, the first moment that we met you, Christian and I were both like, wow, like you bring this sense of ease and peace and like just like we just were like, wow, what a good soul when we met you. And so I'm so happy that we got to see you again. Honestly, I'm so excited to have this conversation with you because I think you're an inspiration to many and to myself, and you lead with intention. I know this conversation, we're going to lead with intent.
We are.
And we're going to motivate some people today. You ready?
I'm ready. And let it flow, and it's going to
Yes.
be what it's going to bloom into what it's going to bloom into.
I love it.
Yes.
I love it. I want to start with something that I feel like is very close to your heart, which is like living in gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think living in gratitude is so important, and what are you most grateful for in this season?
I feel like gratitude is the foundation to everything, right? When we're having a bad day, if we remember what we're grateful for, I know for me, it can turn my day from not being the best to being something I am so proud of. You know, when we are reminded of how far we've come, it pushes us to go further. And I feel like gratitude is the fuel.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not easy all the time.
Right.
You know, to be grateful or to think of the things you're grateful for, especially when you're in a downward spiral or a rut. Or
We've
if
all
you're
been there.
stagnant. Yeah,
Yeah.
oh, we've all been there. If you're stagnant, to think of something you're grateful for, sometimes you really have to pull from within.
Yeah.
You know, I'll pull out the list
Yeah.
and I'll put the little things that really mean the most to me.
Yeah.
You know, I'm grateful for the roof over my head. I'm grateful for the dishes in my sink.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
You'd rather have dishes than no dishes.
than no dishes. Exactly. I'm grateful for the dishes in my sink.
Yes.
You
I
know?
love that. You know, I also think that that's the difference that makes, like, whether you stay in that rock bottom and you let that negative day affect you, or you're able to move on. And move
Absolutely.
forward.
And sometimes, though, when we do have negative days, it's okay to feel it. I actually encourage people to feel it.
Yeah.
First of all, you never forget that feeling. And then you're grateful for when you're not in those feelings.
Yeah.
But also, it's healthy to feel,
Yeah.
you know, down and hurt sometimes. We're human.
Yeah.
It's a part of the human experience.
Yeah.
You know, to feel all the emotions, hopefully.
Yeah.
We're lucky enough to feel all the emotions. I have to remind myself of that.
Yeah.
Like when I'm in an emotional place, I've been depressed before, and I'm like, you know what? I actually got to experience this, and I should be really grateful that I did.
Yeah.
And then as an actor, I can use those as triggers. So that's like a whole other layer
I didn't think about
emotions.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I look at it that way now.
Yeah, I love that. I
Yeah.
didn't think about that. Yeah, and you know what they say? They say that your emotions, like you don't necessarily remember what happened, but you remember that emotion.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like when you walk into a room, let's say years ago, and you're thinking back. And you're like, I don't remember exactly what happened, but I remember how people made me feel. You know, it's always the feeling.
It's always the feeling. It always comes back to how you feel.
Absolutely.
And I know you just spoke about thinking years behind or years ago. You started so young in your career. You started singing at 5, modeling at 10, acting at 15. Now you're a life coach and still doing it all. You're doing so many things.
Yeah, it's been a journey.
Yes. Looking back at that journey, did you know your life was going to be what it is today?
No.
No. What did you think it was going to be?
I'm a planner.
Same.
And I've always been, you
Same.
know, us women, we like to plan. Most
Everything.
of us. Yeah, most of us like to plan. I look up to the women that just live in the moment.
I try.
Me too, girl. Me too. It's hard.
It's so hard.
I know, but I'm a planner, and I've always been, and I've always had like a vision for myself when I was younger. And I would say 50-50. Some of it stuck and some of it didn't.
Yeah.
You know, I was the one that was like, at 25, I'm gonna be married,
Married with
with kids,
kids.
and have the
House,
house,
yeah.
the dog, the dog, and the cat, and the career, and like
Yeah.
no,
Yeah, I know.
that was not it.
Who told us that was the standard?
Fairy tales.
Oh gosh, I don't know where we thought we were going at 25.
No, and 25 was so mature when we were little.
I know.
Yeah, no.
I feel like I was still a little kid when I was 25.
We were.
Yeah, yeah.
We were.
Did you ever feel like you were maybe off track at any point, or maybe like losing your way? Because you did a lot of different things, and I love that about you. You were like, I'm gonna try modeling, I'm gonna try acting, I'm gonna try it all. Like, did you ever feel like I have to stick to this one thing, or were you like, no, I'm gonna try it, and wherever it takes me, like that's where I'm gonna go?
No, I feel like growing up, especially our generation, I know in my household, my parents really pushed the stick to one thing and be good at it.
Same.
But I think it was our generation, honestly.
Yeah. They were afraid of you pivoting.
Yes.
You're gonna lose out on something good.
Exactly. You got to pick your career. You got to stick with it.
Yeah.
Right. I feel like we're the first generation to break that mold. And I feel like social media has a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
We have so many more choices, especially as women.
Yeah.
We're running businesses, having children, getting married. Like, we're doing it all.
Yeah.
We don't have to pick.
Yeah.
We can be multifaceted.
Yes.
But I did at one point feel like I had to pick because it was programmed within me.
Yeah.
I always knew I wanted to be in the entertainment industry. So I started actually in music. So I grew up singing. I grew up in musical theater. I was signed. I was on American Idol. I did all of that. And then I got the opportunity to act. And I was on That's So Raven. And I was
My favorite show.
I love that show. I know.
My favorite show.
It's a classic.
It's a
Raven
classic.
is a superstar. It's a classic.
Loved it.
And it was the first of its kind.
Yeah.
She was the first Black female lead on
it.
Disney.
Yeah.
And to be a part of that show, it's incredible.
Yeah.
So I got the acting bug, for television, being on that show for sure.
Yeah.
But I lost my way. I lost my way. I lost my focus. And I had the relationship. I got married. I nurtured that. I learned so much, and I wouldn't change a thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did lose my way. And yes, I did feel like I had to pick one thing. But when you have multiple passions, that doesn't go away.
It comes back.
Every time.
It comes knocking.
It's like, hey girl, remember me? And you're like, oh God. It's like an itch you have to scratch.
Yes.
And now I feel like I don't have to pick.
I love that.
I feel like for me and who I am, I have like a top 3.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Because I don't want to overwhelm myself. I can get anxiety and I can become overwhelmed.
Yeah.
But if I have my top 3, I'm like, okay, this is my plan.
Switch off. Yeah. Yeah. I love that. And we're going to talk about your top 3 a little later, but I do want to touch on something that you spoke about, which is sometimes losing yourself. I think that's something I wish when I was younger, and they're giving you all these life lessons that now maybe we don't use.
Yeah.
But I wish someone told me, like, check in on yourself.
Yeah.
Like, make sure you take time to be like, is this what you want? Is this what you don't want? No, drop it, pick it up, leave. I think so many times, like, we get lost in whether it's our careers that we work so hard to get, friendships, relationships, being in a role of a mother or a daughter. We kind of just let it sometimes consume us, and then we don't even realize it until maybe something happens, is removed from us, life happens. And then you kind of have to, like, rebuild yourself.
Yeah, you're forced to.
You're forced to.
You're forced to. A life change, whatever that is, if it's a death, a relationship, a career loss, it forces you.
Yeah.
But there's so many blessings in that.
Yeah. Can we talk about a time where maybe you felt like you had to maybe rediscover yourself or rebuild yourself?
I feel like it's happened a few times, to be honest. Like, I think it happens if we're lucky multiple times in our life.
Wow. If we're lucky.
If we're lucky.
Yeah. Because there's so many lessons.
And some people don't learn the lessons. So the same lesson keeps repeating, or they're okay with where they're at. And that's okay too.
Yeah.
Comfortability, a lot of people are okay with it.
Yeah.
They're okay with being in safe spaces that they've always been in.
Yeah.
And that's their life, and that is okay too.
Yeah.
Not everybody is meant to have the same path.
Right.
At all.
Yeah.
When it comes to growth, when it comes to evolution, I just believe growth is not a one size fits all. You know, we all are destined to walk in different paths.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't think it's fair to judge anybody about it or over it either. You know, like it's okay if someone is comfortable
Yeah.
and that's how they want to live the rest of their life.
Yeah.
You
Very
know?
true. I love that you said that. Because I
Yeah.
think sometimes people feel bad of the situation that they're in, but they're like, I'm okay with it. Like,
Exactly.
this is
Who
what
are
I
we
want.
to tell somebody
Yes.
that?
Who are we? Let's drink our water and mind our business.
Exactly. Unless you see somebody you really care about and
Yeah.
something detrimental is happening in their life, I
Yeah.
feel like it's important for us to not be yes people
Yeah.
and to speak up.
Yeah.
But if somebody is happy with where they're at,
Yeah.
and even if you don't agree with it, it's
We
really,
have to be happy for them.
it's none of our concern.
Yeah.
You know, people got to live the life they want to live.
Yeah, for sure. I think for the people who may be in that situation right now where they're maybe just rebuilding themselves or they kind of lost something and want to rebuild themselves, like how do you start from there? Like how do you start rebuilding yourself?
Oh my gosh. I'm going to just say how I did it.
Yeah.
You know, I had to really understand what I wanted out of life and ask myself, am I really ready for it? You have to be honest with yourself. You have to be introspective. You have to ask yourself the hard questions. You know, are you ready to take your life to the next level? If so, what does that mean?
Yeah.
What does that consist of? Are you ready to go full throttle? Are you ready to dive in? Because this is not going to be easy. Rebuilding your life, rebuilding your identity, it's probably the hardest thing I've ever had to do.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't want to say failed many times, but I've had to regroup and pivot and start over many, many times.
Yeah.
You know, but it doesn't mean that it's not going to happen.
Right.
You know, I think a lot of people, let's say their path is taking a bit longer, they feel like it's not going to happen. I don't believe that. I don't believe that at all.
Yeah.
You know, if you keep going, if you keep knocking on the doors,
it will open eventually.
The right person's going to open the door for you.
Yeah.
The right person's going to hear you knocking.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. And I love that like you're taking it back to these lessons as a way for you to move forward. What do you think was the biggest lesson that you've learned?
Oh my gosh. I don't know if it's the biggest, but it's tied into my passion, one of my passions. No, actually, it's tied into both of my passions.
Okay.
And that is my voice always mattered.
Oh.
And in every version of myself, my voice always mattered. And that is connected to me being a motivational speaker.
Yeah.
That's connected to me being an actor. That's connected to me being a daughter. That's connected to me being a best friend.
Yeah.
You know, an auntie. Like, me using my voice, that's my superpower.
Wow.
And that's how I truly feel. And it's crazy, because if you would have asked me that 3 years ago, I wouldn't have been able to even voice that, because I would have been afraid to say that to you.
Wow. Wow.
It's crazy.
No, honestly, that's so deep. All I have to say is wow, because I think sometimes we do lose our voice. And I think sometimes we forget that we have a decision to make. Like, this is our life. Whether we marry, whether we get into our careers, whether we get into certain friendships, like, we have the decision to still say and do and leave and come back and have it be a certain way. And I think we forget to have a voice.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
We're afraid to be judged.
Yes.
You know, we're afraid to hear the word no.
Oh, that's a big one.
You know, but no, you can also look at that as a positive challenge. Like, oh, okay. That means there's there's a yes waiting for me.
Yeah.
You know, it might be no here, but there's a yes next door. Let me go knock on that door.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, my voice, I needed her.
It's powerful.
It's very powerful. It's my superpower.
Yeah.
Honestly.
I love that.
Yeah.
I think you mentioned something earlier that was really good too, which is like you have to find out who you are. And I think I'm in that season of who am I? Like, I feel like I graduated. I think I know what I want to do, but now I'm like, do I want to do that? Or who am I? What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? Like, how do we start? Like, how do you really define who you are and like what makes you happy?
Who are you when you're alone?
Oh.
Who are you when no one's watching? That's who you really are. I honestly believe that. When I'm alone and I'm watching a movie. I'm alone in my thoughts.
Yeah.
I'm alone with my cat. I'm
Yeah.
alone, you know?
Yeah.
And what I'm thinking, how I'm acting, that's who I really am,
Wow.
you know? And I feel like if the world got to see who I was at home, I feel like they would still be proud of me. And that says a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I hope a lot of people have that mentality.
Yeah.
You know,
I
if you're
love
proud
that.
of who you are in the dark, it says a lot.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Be alone with yourself, people.
Yeah. Who are you when you're alone? You know?
I love that. And I think
Yeah.
we don't spend enough time alone sometimes.
No, I think a lot of people spend too much time alone.
Yeah.
And some people don't spend enough time because they're trying to distract themselves
Right.
or fill a void.
Right.
You know, and it's difficult.
Yeah.
You know, I've been on the side of too much isolation, and that's not healthy either.
Right.
You know, when I had my big life change, I was like, I'm going to do this by myself, and I don't need anybody's help, and I'm going to isolate. No, I needed community.
Absolutely.
And that's what I needed. Somebody else might need something else.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I needed my family, who was always there. But I got this.
Yeah. We're hard-headed sometimes. Yeah.
And it's okay to not have this. It's okay to ask for help.
Yeah.
You know, it's okay to be like, I need my mom still. I just need to go over and have her cook.
Yep. I do that all the time.
Yeah, no, I know. I do it now too.
She happily makes me
Exactly.
a 5-course meal. And I'm like, Ma, I didn't ask for all this, but thank you. I
But
really
thank
needed
you.
it.
Those are the things we need.
Yes.
Because they bring us back to ourselves.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So it's, I think some people are out because they want to fill a void. And I think some people isolate because that's all they know.
Yeah.
You know, or that's their safe place. For me, it was my safe place. But it wasn't the healthiest.
Yeah. You always got to find a balance. And speaking about balance, like, how do you check in with yourself now? Talking about, you know, before sometimes losing ourselves, like, how do you make sure now that you check in on yourself often and still say, okay, am I aligned with what I want to be doing right now?
I say that to myself.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
How am I feeling about this situation? Do I really want to do this? Or am I doing this to please other people?
Yeah.
Am I pleasing myself? Am I pleasing somebody else?
Yeah.
You know, and that if I don't know the answer to that, that means I'm pleasing somebody else.
And that happens a lot.
Yeah, I think especially as women.
Yes, yes. And that comes to my next point. I think one thing that I really, really love about you is how transparent you've been with your relationship with your body. And I'm curious to know, if you had to describe that relationship today in one word, what would it be and why?
Oh, no. It's complex.
Yeah.
And I say that because some months I'm fine. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel amazing. I'm not at my peak moment of insecurities. Like, I'm good. Like when I was on set for Sports Illustrated, I did not.
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank
Huge.
you. Thank you. I didn't feel insecure once.
Yeah.
Like, it was crazy. But it's been months since then. And I've had moments at home where I'm like, oh man, like I have to go shoot something, or I have an event and like, I don't really want to go because I don't feel my best. But I force myself not to go.
Yeah.
Because I tell myself, I'm not what I think I look like.
Yeah.
That's my dysmorphia talking.
Wow.
That's not reality.
Yeah.
That's dysmorphia.
Yeah.
You know, like, I'm now in a place where I can say that and move forward.
Yeah.
It doesn't box me in anymore. It doesn't control me, but it does still show up.
Yeah.
I don't think it ever goes away for me.
Yeah.
I can't speak for anybody else, but I know for me, it's my relationship with my body is still complex.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a good word to describe it. And I think a lot of women go through body shaming and quietly sometimes, and we don't have anybody to talk to, and which is why I love that you've been so transparent about these conversations, because even with social media now, it's all about comparison. And I want to get to it because I know briefly we spoke about outdated society standards within the world today, and just how now women are just judging and body shaming? What makes them unique? What makes them beautiful? Why do you think we do that? Why do you think we compare ourselves so much?
I think, we're all constantly scrolling,
Yeah.
even when we don't mean to.
Yeah.
Like, do you ever just close the app and then you're like, why am I back on 2 minutes later?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
a lot of us do that.
All the time. I think I have a problem. Like, I now for my
Yes.
timer, I had to even put like,
See?
you got to get out at this certain time.
Yeah, because we're constantly, it's habit now.
Yeah.
I think we're probably all low-key addicted
Yeah.
in a certain way.
Yeah.
And with that becomes you're subconsciously comparing,
Yeah.
subconsciously judging yourself, even if you don't judge other people. I don't really judge other people.
Right.
I judge myself.
Yes.
And that's heavy.
That
it's
is
heavy.
heavy.
It's
Yes.
heavy, And then if you throw in an additional layer of, let's say, you don't have a supportive partner, that can crush you as well. There's a lot.
Yeah.
I think, our insecurities come from a lot of different lanes and avenues.
Yeah. You were just featured in Sports Illustrated swimsuit. Congratulations. That is huge.
Thank you.
How do you feel about being part of that?
I am completely honored, to be a part of a legacy that's been around for a very, very long time and featured some of the most amazing supermodels, iconic supermodels,
Right.
Tyra, like no one forgets that cover.
Yeah.
But to also be a part of a movement and a family that not only celebrates the physical,
Yeah.
but also the mental
Right.
and other very important features women bring to the table.
Yeah.
It's inner and outer beauty
Right.
with Sports Illustrated. And so to now become a part of that family, I'm just like at a loss for words, honestly. And this has been a dream of mine since I was a kid.
Yeah.
So when I found out, I was just like, oh my gosh. I'm still like, oh my gosh. Like the party is this week and I'm like, what is happening? It's crazy. It's crazy.
It's a dream.
Yeah, it's a dream. And to be present is where I'm currently at, because these moments you don't take for granted.
Absolutely.
I just would never in my life. I'm so grateful for the entire team, for believing in me and seeing beyond the physical. It's what else do us as models bring to the table,
Right.
And they honor that. So it's the issues.
Yeah. Honestly, and it's so aligned to who you are.
Thank
you just
you.
bring so much motivation to women, and I think just everything about you screams like confidence.
Thank
and I
you.
love that. And I have a question on what advice you would give to women who maybe feel stuck or feel like they may be failing or moving backwards. Like, what's your advice to them in this moment?
Pause. Stillness is a reset.
Yes.
An absolute reset. When you're still, when you can hear your thoughts, when you just stop and you're like, okay, where am I at right now? Let me find my grounding. What am I feeling? What do I want? What do I need in order to reach the next level of my life?
Yeah.
Does that mean working on my relationship with myself, with others? What is the foundation? What is the core? What's going to help build me to be the strongest version of myself so that I can succeed?
Yeah.
It's a very personal question.
Yeah. How do we give yourself grace?
It's difficult for me personally.
Yeah.
Very hard on myself.
Yeah, because sometimes we feel like we're failing and we're not really failing.
No, there's no rules here.
There's no rules.
There's
it's just
no
us.
rules. Everyone, there's no rules. Okay, we were so programmed as children and young adults to live by these rules. We must be successful at this age. If we're not successful by 30, then we have failed.
Yeah.
What? That is crazy.
Yeah.
That is crazy. Do we even know ourselves by 30?
No. Your prime years start in your 30s, so I've heard.
Like,
I'm on my way there.
Oh my God, girl. Life, let me tell you, like, when you hit 30,
I'm excited.
get excited. Okay? Because it's good.
I'm so excited.
And my 30s have been highest of highs, lowest of lows. Like it's been like, oh my gosh, and oh my God. Like it's been crazy.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't change anything. I'm seeing things through new lenses. The rose-colored glasses are off.
Yeah.
It's time to step up.
We love that for you.
Yeah. Like
Yes.
that's where I'm at.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it takes trial and error. It takes diving in. It takes having blind faith. Blind faith is one of the scariest things to do, to achieve, to touch.
Absolutely.
I can't even describe it. When you just jump and you don't know where you're landing, what a feeling.
Yeah. But
What
it's that delusional thinking. Is that thinking of, I deserve this, I'm going to do it.
I'm just going to do it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it for myself.
Yeah.
You know, and I always say you can have a plan, but be flexible in your approach because it's not probably going to happen the way you envision it.
Yeah. I know we learned that the hard way. You and I learned that the hard way, especially like feeling like you have to control everything.
Exactly.
Like I'm learning that now. Like I have to be flexible. I planned this, it didn't go this way. Sometimes you have more fun when it doesn't go your way.
Exactly. You just got to learn to dance in the rain.
Dance. Oh, I love that.
You've got to learn to dance in the rain.
Yeah.
You know, there were so many moments where I cried in the rain, and that's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay to have stillness in the rain. But when you learn how to dance in the rain,
game changer.
man.
Yeah.
Oh, the sun will come out.
I love that.
The rainbow will appear.
Yes, because you're attracting that energy.
Yeah, you're dancing in the rain.
And I think you've been doing that because let's talk about these past 3 years. Girl, you have evolved and bloomed so beautifully.
Thank you.
Like, what does the season mean to you? Like, what makes the season so special?
This is my renaissance. This is the season of full bloom.
Yeah.
But the beginning of the full bloom. This is my new book. I don't say chapters anymore. This is my new book.
I love that.
You know, that book is closed. Respectfully, it's closed. This is a brand new book.
Yeah.
You know, and I feel like I'm just starting to write those pages.
Yeah.
Because I had to heal.
Yeah.
You know, I had to carefully close the old book.
Yeah.
Because it would have kept opening. So now I'm here.
Yeah.
We're in the Renaissance era.
Yep.
It's time. It's
not
go time
again. Yep. It's already closed.
Time.
It's go time.
But it was not easy to get here, you know, and I still have off days, of course. Everyone does, you know, and there's still days, even with everything going so amazingly well, and I'm grateful for it. Some days I'm like, am I lost? What's happening? But I know I'm not.
Yeah.
You know, I just might feel that way in the moment, but I know the greater plan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm so excited for you.
Thank you.
Like, I love that you said this is just the beginning to it. Just gets me excited.
Yeah,
to see what you're going to be doing in the next few years.
Yeah, I feel like I'm just like we're taking off. Like I'm right here. You know.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
If your younger self could see you today, what would she be most proud of?
That I had the ability to be in touch with her again in order to find myself. Like I had to go back to 17-year-old her.
Wow.
In order to be 38-year-old me, you know? I had to. Because that's when I was the most locked in. That's when I was the most focused. So I had to get back in touch with her.
Yeah.
I'm like, what was I doing at that time? How did I feel?
Going back to that feeling.
Why was I so confident at 17?
Yeah.
Because I wasn't jaded. Because I wasn't afraid to take blind leaps of faith. You know, because that's all I knew.
Yeah.
My parents always encouraged me, you know, to pursue what I wanted to pursue. They wanted me to pick one thing, but they always encouraged it. You know, so I came from a very nurturing place. So the confidence was there from a very early age.
Yeah.
So I had to go back to her.
I love that.
Yeah.
I need to go back to
Who were you at 17?
Who was I? With so much joy.
Yes, so much joy.
That just joyful, innocent little girl that just didn't care in the world, but just was so happy.
But you can still be joyous and wise.
I love that.
You know?
Absolutely.
I feel like we can still have childlike joy infused with wisdom.
Yeah.
I think that's so important. You know? You can still play and still be a boss.
Absolutely.
You know?
That's the balance you need.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely. Now, I'm going to wrap up. I could talk all day because this is just amazing girl chat. I want to talk about you being a life coach because That's amazing. And
Thank you.
something so pivotal. I feel like people are now really seeking life coaches. They
are.
really want to understand who they are and how to be their best authentic self. And so I think as a life coach, like what is your biggest, I guess, piece of advice that you give to those around you?
Understanding identity. And if it is, I'm trying to think of the best way to say this. I don't want to say the word lacking, but if identity is not at its strength or highest point, how do we get there?
Okay.
You know, identity roots a lot of what we do.
What is identity?
How we view our identity, how we view our confidence. Who are we when we're alone?
Okay.
You know, how does our identity tie with our career? You know, our self-worth.
Yeah.
I'm very big on that because I didn't always walk in my self-worth. So as a coach, I always help people, especially women, in my transformational retreats that I have. I always encourage them, I'm like, let's start with your self-worth. If you could rate it, and I always ask, this is the first question from 1 to 10, where's your self-worth right now? Where does it lie?
Yeah.
So I can get kind of like a spectrum, right? Where are you? And then that's when the truth comes out. So like, my self-worth, what does that mean to me? What does it mean to you?
And then rating it.
And then rating it. And then why do you feel that way?
Yeah.
Okay, let's keep pulling the layers. Let's keep like pulling the onion back, right? Okay, so when did you lose your self-worth? What happened? What was that moment? Okay, well, you're not there anymore. So how do we get that back up? How do we build?
Yeah.
You know, so identity and self-worth, to me, they go hand in hand with the foundation.
Yeah.
And as a coach, I really try and help women understand and uplift them and fulfill those two things in order to really build. You know, because if you don't feel like you're worthy, how are you going to go after what you want?
Yeah.
If you don't feel like you're worthy, why would someone else feel like you're worthy? If you don't know your identity or understand your identity, how's anybody going to connect?
Correct.
You know?
Yeah.
Who are you?
Yeah.
It's a complex question.
Yeah.
I had my first retreat in September. And
How did that go?
It was insane, and it was incredible, and it sold out. It was amazing. And I had 3 different workshops.
Yeah.
And the last day was 4 days. We all cried. Nobody wanted to leave.
Oh.
And we just uncovered so much and built a tribe, and I still talk to these girls to this day.
Yeah.
You know, and whatever they need, they can email me.
When's the next one?
Next year, it's probably going to be in May in Tulum.
May. Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. For 2026.
2026, yeah.
We love that.
We were
We're writing that down.
Yes. We were going to have it this year, but I booked Sports Illustrated, so it got
But yes.
yeah.
But everything happens for a reason.
Absolutely,
So
absolutely. But the
we'll be
retreat
looking
was
forward to it.
Thank you. It was incredible, and we started with identity, and we started with self-worth.
Yeah.
And it brought up a lot of feelings. I think that's the best way to put it without putting anybody out there.
Yeah.
It brought up a lot.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I'm excited. I might have to sign up for that
I would
2026
love to have
one.
you.
Yes. All right, so we're going to wrap up here, but what's something you want people to take away from your story?
Ooh, one of the things, oh my
Yeah.
gosh. I'll do 2.
Yes.
Okay. You can start over at any moment. There are no rules. If you feel like something has come to an end, let it
Yeah.
and start over. In fear, start over with faith. Start over in tears. Start over in the rain.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter how old you are, where you're at. If you feel that's what you need to do, you can start over at any time. And that's a message that I hope really resonates, especially with women, because of societal standards. Because at a certain age,
We feel like we can't.
we're not going to get the job. We're going to lose our looks at a certain age.
Yeah.
It's
We
going to
set
fade.
limitations.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
things are changing. It's 2020. What year are we? 2025.
2025.
It's like it's 2025. Like it's
Yeah.
changing.
We can
you
do
know.
anything.
We write our narratives.
Yes.
We write our narratives.
Yeah.
You know, and also this message is really important. And I feel like we don't talk about it enough. And it can be for both men and women, but I feel like more women resonate with it. Doing things backwards according to societal standards. And it's something that I fought with a lot internally. You know, I got married and I had that life before I had the career.
Yeah.
And society told me that I had failed in my career. But no. If I didn't go through what I went through and learned all the things that I learned behind the scenes about myself, I would probably not be ready for the blessings I have today.
Wow.
So I didn't do things backwards. I did things my way.
You did it your way.
I did it my way.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's okay.
Yeah.
Do it your way.
Do
it your way.
There's no rules. What I got from this whole conversation is there's no rules.
There are no rules.
I love that.
No. You get married first.
You could do anything.
You could
Pick
do
something
anything.
up, drop it, pick it up, pivot, change.
Absolutely.
Like, there's no rules. I love
Absolutely.
that. I think you're really giving people hope from this conversation, and you've given me hope through this conversation. And really just starting over. If you're unhappy, go be happy. Just drop what you're doing. And really, like, life is really short, and there is no rules. And your past does not matter. Take the lessons you've learned in your past. And like you said, what is it? Dance in the rain?
Dance in the rain.
Dance in the
Just
rain.
dance in the rain. It doesn't matter what level of life you're in.
Yeah.
If that's what you feel you need to do, you need to start over.
You're starting over. Yeah. Oh, I love this conversation. I feel like it was a whole therapy session. Thank you so much for joining me today. I know it was so much fun for your transparency. You know, it's not an off-the-cuff show unless we give you your flowers.
Oh, thank
and
you.
so
Yes.
I want to give you your flowers for just being such an inspiring woman, for giving us hope, for being an advocate for mental health, and just for showing up for women and showing up your best self so that we can show up as our best selves. So thank you so much.
Oh, that means the world to me. And I will continue to do so as long as I can, because I really care genuinely about women and our voices, because our voices matter.
Absolutely. Now, we'd like to turn it around. Is there anyone you would like to give your flowers to today?
Oh, is there anyone I want to give my... You know what? I want to give my flowers to you.
Wow.
I do. I really do. You made me feel so safe.
Oh, thank you.
And that's a quality that is very hard to find. You know, when you come to something like this, vulnerability and safety have to match, you know? So I want to give you your flowers. You killed it.
Thank you. You're going to make me cry.
Good. Women supporting women. So I want to give you your flowers.
Thank you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk to you.
Absolutely.
I had an amazing time.
I did too.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, give me a hug. Thank you so much.
Of course.